Welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce with the Epic Experiment. We're back. Another deck, another week. This week, we've got Haliya Guided by Light. Mono white life gain. So she's 2 and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature human soldier. Whenever Haliya or another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life, and has got warp for a single white. So, if you've been following me along, I have been working towards building a monocolored deck for each of the 5 colors. That's probably one of the last sort of challenges that I have yet to tackle in my Commander experience. This Bracket 2 deck is my mono white deck that I've assembled, and it leans into the life gain with a relatively new commander from Edge of Eternities that I kind of liked, and there's enough support for it in other things that you can do. Now, the deck, if you see the list, is got some spicy pieces to it that you could probably sub out. We'll talk about those when we get to them. But the deck itself, at its core, could be assembled pretty cheaply because a lot of the cards we're playing are pretty replaceable effects. So, let's talk about this. Haliya wants you to play creatures to gain life. Alright, so there's a whole suite of cards that are going to allow us to do sort of the same sort of effect. So, let's talk about them. So, great example would be a brand new card out of the Spider-Man set, Aunt May. Whenever another creature enters, you gain 1 life. If it's a spider, put a +1/+1 encounter on it. All right. So this sort of effect is sprinkled throughout the deck. I think there's 8 or 9 pieces of it that sort of do this sort of effect. And Aunt May is a really useful way of doing it. I'm not really looking for the spider angle, although I do have a couple of spiders, I believe, in here. But this is mostly just another Soul Warden effect that you can play pretty cheaply. All right, Lunarch Veteran. So single white for a 1/1. Whenever the creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. And then for 1 and a white, has Disturb. You flip it over, and again, it is a 1/1 spirit flying. Whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 life. And then if it would die, you go put it in your graveyard for anywhere, you exile it instead. So again, similar sort of effect. Life gain. We have Angelic Chorus. So 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. Well, a little bit different than just it entering, but you could gain more than 1 life at a time. Seems okay. We have a Cleric class. Single white. If you gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. So instead of gaining 1, you might gain 2. Then level 2 is whenever you gain life, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. And then for another 4 and a white for level 3, whenever this class comes level, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness. Alright, so really you're looking for the first 2 modes on that. If you get to the 3rd mode, it probably means things have gone badly for you. We have Daxos, Blessed of the Sun by the Sun. We have it's a white for a 2-star. Where its toughness is equal to your devotion to white. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. So it gets it on the way in and out. We have Najani's Welcome. So this is a single white. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. And then last but not least, we have an Impassioned Order. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. All right. So you're going to have lots of different ways of gaining life. Let's talk about some payoffs for that life. All right, so we're going to gain life, right? So Johnny's Pride Mate is a great example of what you want to do. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on a Johnny's Pride Mate. So you gain life, it gets bigger. All right, we have Aerith Gainsborough. Similar effect, so 2 and a white for a 2/2 with lifelink. It's a human cleric. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Aerith Gainsborough. When Aerith Gainsborough dies, put a X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Aerith Gainsborough. Cool. Seems fun. I like that. We have a Celestial Unicorn. So 2 and a white for a 3/2. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Celestial Unicorn. Okay, so we're seeing a trend here. Then we have Valkyrie Harbinger. So 4 white for a Angel Cleric 4/5 with life flying and lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. So we've got a number of these effects that trigger on gaining a particular amount of life. So we have the Valkyrie, we have a Resplendent Angel. So 1 white for a 3/3 with flying. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel, and it can get 3 white until end of turn. Resplendent angel gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink. So it can trigger itself to make itself be big enough to gain you life. All right, Excalibur. It is 1 for a legendary equipment. Whenever you gain life, put a charge counter on Excalibur. Excalibur gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Excalibur the 2, and then equip for 3. So you gain life, it gets counters. You don't even need to have it on anything for it to gain the counters. It seems pretty good. We have Dawn of Hope. So 1 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. 3 and a white, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. This is not exciting, but the fact that you could draw a card off it, or it could make you a body, is just, in the event of nothing else going right, you could do something with yourself. And then Angelic Accord and Griffin Airy are more of the same. If you gain X amount of life, you put a creature into play. This one is if you gain 4 life. This one is if you gain 3. And this one puts a 2/2 Griffin. This puts a 4/4 Angel. So you should see I'm using my life totals, gaining life, to be able to turn that into big chunks of extra stuff on the battlefield. All right. Now, let's talk about some other things, some other fun cards that we're going to have in the deck. All right. So we're going to have an Elspeth Sun's Champion. So 4 white, and this is a Planeswalker. So this is not the usual form. This is from one of the secret lair drops. But, the +1 is create 3 1/1 creature tokens. The -3, is it? Yeah, -3, all creatures in play with power 4 or greater are destroyed. And -7, the rest of the game, creatures you control get +2/+2 and flying. So you're just using this to create lots of bodies, which Haliya is going to see and gain you life, which is then going to draw you cards, which is then going to help you keep your hand full to go and continue the flow of stuff. So Elspeth Sun's Champion is one of a stalwart edition. It's a little expensive in terms of mana cost, but pretty good. But we have another version of Elspeth. Elspeth's Archangel, 2 white for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker, +1, create a white soldier. Cool. +2, sorry, and the create soldier has lifelink. -2, put 2/+1 counters on a target creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other type and gains flying. Cool. -6, return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You're, again, looking to play bodies or maybe jump something in the air. Who knows? Defiler of Faith, 3 white for a 5/5. This is a Phyrexian human with vigilance. As additional cost to cast white permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost single white less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of white mana. Whenever you cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. All right, so it makes bodies. Bodies are going to be what Haliya likes. Haliya gains you life. That life lost is not going to be nearly as damaging as it could. We have White Plume Adventurer. This is just a good value card. 2 and a white for a 3/3 Orc Cleric. When White Plume Adventurer enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, untap a creature you control. If you've completed a dungeon, untap all creatures you control instead. So the initiative seems kind of cracked, and I like introducing it to a game if I could. That's a really efficient way to do so. 10th District Hero, so 1 and a white for a 2/3 human. 1 and a white, collect evidence 2. 10th District Hero becomes a human detective with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains vigilance. 2 and a white, collect evidence 4. If 10th District Hero is a detective, it becomes a legendary creature named Maliva the Stalwart. It has base power, toughness 5/5, and it gains other creatures you control have indestructible. We're talking about why that's going to matter in a minute. But yeah. Adagia, Windswept Bastion. So this is a land. It's a planet. Tap for a white, and a station. And then once you station it for 12 or more, 3 and a white, tap. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. So there'll be a number of interesting artifacts or enchantments in the deck that you can make use of. Seems good to me. Myria Angel. So 2 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. Landfall. Put a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield when you play a land. That's, again, making bodies, triggering Haliya, gaining the life so that you can make use of it. Leonin Warleader. 2 white for a 4/4. Whenever Leonin Warleader attacks, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. Yes, please. We have Anafenza, the Kintree Spirit. So white for a 2/2, legendary creature Spirit Noble. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1. That's going to put things out of range, put things extra counters on tokens. It's going to make it hard for them to deal with you. Odric, Lunarch Marshal, 3 and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So this is really here to make sure to give all your creatures flying, as I have a bunch of angels and other things that have got flying. So this is a great card to make all your things have flying, meaning you can probably alpha strike somebody and get them dead. Then we have Dion, Bahamut's Dominant, 3 and a white for a 3/3. During your turn, Dion and other knights you control have flying. When Dion enters, create a 2/2 white knight creature token, and then 4 white, exile Dion, then return it to the battlefield. Transformed under control. It comes back as Bahamut, Warden of Light. And then the first 2 chapters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until end of turn. And then 3, destroy target permanent, exile Bahamut, then return to the battlefield. So you're going to use it to pump your things. You're probably not flipping it, I don't think. I've never flipped it, but it seems like a fun thing to try. And then Summon Knight of the Round. 6 white for a 3/3 enchantment creature Saga Knight. Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 create 3 2/2 white knight creature tokens for 4 turns. That's absurd. Other creatures, and then chapter 5, other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Put an indestructible counter on each of them. That is Looney Tunes. We're talking about what we're going to do that in a second. Now, white has a problem in that putting all those creatures onto the board, but we don't have a lot of ways to derail our opponents particularly, apart from just straight up removal. We really struggle on the stack. We really struggle trying to protect our board states. So let's talk about what we're going to do to try and protect our stuff. Okay. Let's talk about we have stacks pieces. I'm going to put this here because I'm going to talk about this again later, so we'll talk about it in a second. So Archangel of Tithes. 1 white for a 3/5 flying angel. As long as Angel of Tithes is untapped, creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless your controller plays 1 for each of those creatures attacking. So it's like kind of like a mini Ghostly Prison, but it's pretty good. As long as Archangel of Tithes is attacking, creatures can't block unless your controller plays 1 for each of those creatures. This is a blowout waiting to happen if you go wide on a board and then you just rush them. They're probably not going to be able to have enough mana to hold up blocks and you can just get them. So I'm running it mostly as a stacks piece for the making it hard to attack, but you can turn it around and make it aggressive if you need to. Rule of Law. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Well, this is a surefire way to really slow the game down. People hate this. But if you're playing mono white and you don't have a way to interact with the stack, the best thing you can do is shut the stack off. So Rule of Law it is. Deafening Silence, a single white. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. Luckily for me, I'm playing a butt ton of creatures, so I don't really care. We've got Dauntless Dismantler. So 1 and a white for a 1/4. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. And then white X. Sacrifice Dauntless Dismantler. Destroy each artifact with mana value X. So this is like Manglehorn's effect, but on a white creature, and then you can then kill their things. Seems pretty strong to me. Clarion Conqueror, 2 and a white flying. Activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. So I have some of that in my deck, but most of I have is triggered abilities. So this doesn't really impact me too much, but it shuts off lots of other things that are running around the table. So I think this is a pretty neat card here. We have a Discerning Financier, so 2 and a white for a 2/3 human noble. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure token. 2 and a white, choose another player. That player gains control of target treasure you control. You draw a card. So I like the idea of using this as catch-up ramp. So if somebody has more lands than you, you can make treasure to catch up a little bit. Then you can give it away to draw cards if you need to. Raydane, God of the Worthy, 2 and a white, 2/3 flying vigilance. Snowlands your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Probably not important. Non-creature spells your opponent's cast with converted mana cost 4 or greater cost 2 more to cast. So a tax effect to make them pay more for their spells. And then we have Haliya, Guardian of Thraben, 1 and a white for a 2/1 with first strike. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Okay. And last but not least, we have Myrel, Shield of Argive, 3 and a white, 3/4, legendary creature, human soldier. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Whenever Myrel of Shield of Argive attacks, create X 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens, where X the number of soldiers you control. There's been a number of things that make more soldiers, so you could get a pretty good haul off that, but it's mostly to stifle them from their attacks. All right, next, we're going to have some fun ramp here. We have some fun ramp abilities. We have a Nykthos for starters. So this one is going to care a whole lot. So tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool. 2 and a tap, choose a color, add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. So mono white, you have lots of white pips on the board. This can make you a whole lot of mana. That's a pretty big ramp. Mirror Pool. Mirror Pool enters the battlefield tapped. 2 and a colorless, sacrifice Mirror Pool, copy target instant or sorcery spell. 4 and a colorless, sacrifice Mirror Pool, put a token onto the battlefield as a copy of target creature you control. Lots of good targets. You can do lots of good things with that. Copy tokens is great. Keeper of the Accord. So 3 and a white for 3/4 with a human soldier. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you may search your library for a basic plains card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. I like this as a great way to catch up on your opponents, catch up in terms of mana if you don't have enough. Then we have a land tax. So single white at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards. Reveal them, then put them into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. So you're going to go and find lands and help yourself get them onto the battlefield. And then we have a Guardian Idol and a Mind Stone. All right. Next, let's talk about how we're going to interact with our opponents. We're going to stack them out if we can. If we can't stack them out and slow them down that way, we're going to have to remove their stuff. So we're going to play a Soul Partition. 1 and a white. Instant. Exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. A spell cast by an opponent this way costs 2 more to cast. Okay, people are saying, well, why don't you have Swords to Plowshare in the list and you have this card? This allows me to deal with any non-land permanent. All right, so this is like a bounce effect, but in white. So people are going to run, all the unsummon effects or the Flood Maw or whatever. There's lots of great effects in blue that do replicate this effect and put it back in their hand. This just puts it into exile and makes it cost more. So this is a really potent card because it removes any non-land permanent. So I really like the flexibility associated with that, and I think probably people should play more of it. We have a Tragic Arrogance. This is a really good one. 3 white, sorcery. For each player you choose from among the permanents that player controls, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. Then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents he or she controls. I like this because I like to pick what they get. So you leave them with the worst things, which seems good to me. We have a Sunblast Angel. 4 white for a 4/5 flying angel. When a Sunblast Angel enters the battlefield, destroy all tapped creatures. I don't mind this because I can control when I use it. So if I don't want to play, if I'm looking at my board state and I'm like, I'm not swinging, but someone else is so I'm gonna keep my stuff, untapped, and let my opponents commit and tap things, and you can get somebody with that. If you have an effect that maybe somebody gets their board all tapped down, that seems pretty good too. Angel of Sanctions, 3 white for 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until Angel of Sanction leaves the battlefield. So it's an O-ring effect. And then Embalm for 5 and a white, so you get a token of it back. So it's pretty good that way. We have a Unlicensed Hearse. So 2 for an artifact. Tap, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Unlicensed Hearse's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards exiled with it. And then crew 2. This is just a good piece of graveyard hate. And it can turn into a really big attacker later in the game if you need it. We have a Wismare and a Crush Contraband. These are going to be ways to remove artifacts and enchantments. This removes just enchantments. This one will do either. And then last but not least, we have an austere command. So hopefully you can pick the mode that destroys all creatures with mana value 4 or greater, because a lot of your tokens are going to be small and not get caught by it. All right, so we're removing things, and there's a number of board wipes. So there's a number of board wipes, and I'm already worried about board wipes because I've got a deck that is pretty much premised on playing creatures and extracting value from my creatures. How am I going to protect them? Well, I'm going to protect them with Eerie Interlude. So 2 and a white, exile any number of target creatures you control, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So if someone goes to try and board wipe, you can blink your whole team and get them back. Now, if you have tokens, obviously you're going to lose the tokens, but you're going to be able to keep your soul sister effects or your other creatures is pretty good. Savine's Reclamation, 2 and a white for a sorcery. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy this spell and you choose a new target, and then flashback for 4 and a white. I like this because you can use it to go get some of your value pieces that you're relying on early to go and make a pretty good thing, and get 2 of them back later when you kick it. Valkyrie's Call, 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types. This makes your deck pretty sticky and hard for your opponents to kill because anything that dies is going to come back. Now, again, the tokens vanish, but your valuable, cards, your things that you can't really replace are coming to stay on the battlefield. We have a Sun Titan, 4 white for a 6/6 with Vigilance, the giant. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a classic in white deck. You're going to get all sorts of things back. Emeria Shepherd, 5 white for a 4/4 angel with landfall and flying. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If that land is a plains, you may return that non-land permanent card to the battlefield instead. I'm playing almost exclusively plains, so this is going to be a really good tool to get back something that's valuable that you need back. You're not going to get a lot of activations with it. You're going to get 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky, but if you can do it, you're doing pretty well. Divine Resilience, so a single white for an instant and kicker for 2 and a white. Target creature you control gains indestructible end of turn. If the spell was kicked, instead, any number of target creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. I like the flexibility on the kick effect, where you can just target one thing, or you can target everything. I appreciate the flexibility. And then make a stand, 2 and a white, creatures you control get +1/+0, and gain indestructible till end of turn. So this is trying to hedge against getting board wiped right off the board. And then we have a Spectacular Spider-Man, so 1 and a white for a 3/2 with flash. 1 Spectacular Spider-Man gains flying till end of turn, and then 1 Sacrifice Spectacular Spider-Man. Creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, making it really hard for your opponents to kill your things. All right, let's talk about some other value pieces in this deck. All right, we've got some enchantments that are going to help me to punch through and win the game. All right, so True Conviction, creatures you control have double strike until end and lifelink. Yes, please. That sounds great. Very appreciated. Dawnsire. I've been fascinated by this card. So Dawnsire, Sunstar Dreadnought. So 5 mana for Legendary Artifact Spacecraft. A station. So you tap a creature to station it. 10+. Whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage up to one target creature or planeswalker, and 20. It's got flying and is a 20/20 flying creature. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then we have Spear of Heliod and Flowering of the White Tree, which are anthem effects. Useful, but not exciting. Then we have some big hitters over here. We've got Secret Rendezvous is a card draw spell, so we're going to draw 3 and make someone else draw 3. It's kind of political. It's kind of a fun card. I like it. Lady Laughter, so 3 white for a 4/5 with flying. It's a Fairy Noble. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. Since I'm making a whole bunch of tokens, that's going to be a really big deal. Tokasia's Welcome, 2 and a white for enchantment. Whenever 1 or more creatures enter the with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, I can get on board. And then we have Anointed Procession and Sword of Hearth and Home. Okay. These 3 cards go together in a rather fun way I rather like. So, Anointed Procession goes and checks and sees when summon Knights of the Round, and you make double the... It creates twice that many tokens, so you make 6 in each turn. Then, if you can equip the Sword of Hearth and Home on anything, and then get it through to deal damage, you can then reset your summon Knight of the Round and re-trigger it, making even more tokens, which is then going to allow you to draw cards with Haliya, because you can now gain enough life to trigger it, and away we go. All right, it's kind of fun, kind of cutesy. I mean, it's sort of jank that in a bracket 2 deck is perfectly reasonable and is going to be tons of fun at the board. Your opponents are going to want to remove it all through all the pieces, because that's all 3 of them are very potent. Anointed Procession and Sword of Hearth and Home are just very good in that way. And last but not least, we have some MDFCs that are just useful ways to put extra things in your deck that could be used as lands later if you need them. All right. So that's the deck. All right. So like I said, the deck's a little bit more expensive than I would normally build. It's around $320 or so. But that's because the land tax is pricey. That's because the Nykthos is pricey. That's because the Sword of Hearth and Home are pricey. You don't have to have those pieces. You could take those 3 things out and drop the price of this deck to under $250 easily, which puts it in line with lots of other things that I've built and shown off on this deck, on this channel, and it'd still be fun. Now, you notice there's no infinite combo here. It's not like I'm going for the Heliod, lifegain, walking ballistic combo. I'm not doing that. We're going to beat them through old-fashioned, shenanigans of I'm attacking with my things, I'm attacking with more things, I'm going to overwhelm you with bodies. It's a very classic white weenie, go wide sort of strategy that has got this component where it can go bigger if you start gaining lots of life, meaning your opponents have to address what are they dealing with you going wide, or are they going to be addressing going tall. Kind of a fun conundrum for your opponents to deal with. I kind of like it. It's going to play very fair. All right, it's going to be a very fair deck, and your opponents are going to say, okay, like, whether you won the game or lost, it's going to be very fair. It packs enough interaction that you can clean the board up, but it doesn't pack so much that your opponents are going to be moaning that there's been 5 or 6 wraths. It's just kind of a nice sort of like palette cleanser, so to speak. That's how I kind of look at it. This is a palette cleanser. Yes, the stack pieces can be a little bit tricky to play through, but none of them prohibit people from playing the game. They're just a little bit of a extra thing you need to think about. All right? Anyway, that's the deck. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. We're trying to grow the channel here to let people see what we're doing here. I'm brewing decks all the time. I got new stuff on the go. I've got decks here that I've built for years that I like to show off for you guys. So yeah, like and subscribe if you like what you see. If you want to see the deck list, it's on Moxfield. The link's down below. You can check it out. And along with every other deck that I've brewed, it all ends up there. You can check it all out, see for yourself, and and check out all the cards for yourself. Last but not least, if you like what you hear, the link to our show is there. We're going to be getting back to some more regular content on the podcast. Pete is a busy dude at university, going to studying at law school, so we're a little bit constrained, but we're going to be excited to get back and doing some recording in the month of December, so sit tight, more on the docket. All right, folks, that's it for me. Thanks very much. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.